Alright, hello! It is time once again for Midcard Mana. It is I, the loose cannon. We got over here Sam Keola, the wrestling connoisseur. And this is gonna be this is a video we just thought of right now to do. So Sam Keola
adjust this a little bit.
Has posted his first fan post over on Cageside Seats.
Yes.
And he was surprised to find out that he received lots of feedback.
I posted because, she joined Cageside Seats.
Keep bugging him too.
And usually
And I tell him he's a better writer than me, and people respond to mine because mine is mostly just sentimental stuff about like personal stories in wrestling.
On Inside Pulse. So shout out for over there. And it's just random, occasional when I get a chance. Which I usually kick myself because I'm like, oh crap, I haven't written for like 2 months. I really need to write something. But I'm busy. So
Midcard Mana has been taking up all his creative energy as well. So.
It's very busy writing and editing a novel and raising children and doing
talking
all
about
that
wrestling.
other stuff. Yeah.
It's a lot. It is daunting.
I keep up with wrestling way more now that we're doing this. Anyway, yes, she kept badgering me to write over at Cageside.
And let me just say, you're welcome to everyone at Cageside Seats because he's a good writer. I know I've known him for a really long time. He's articulate. And he has a lot of really good ideas and a lot of really good insights.
We met in a writing class, no less.
We did, along with my hobbit who lives in my chest.
Yes,
I love him.
Still smoking.
William Todd.
And apparently Apollo was in that class too, but we never remember.
Sapoto-chan, I do remember Sapoto-chan in that class.
Vaguely,
afterwards, I just remember he was in part of the cool table.
Yeah, I don't know.
He just chose to be on the other side, I guess.
He chose to be with all the girls, I think, over there.
Yeah, that's fair. He didn't really like most of them, so I don't understand. Anyway,
so she kept badgering me because she started over there, and she's like, "This would be a great idea." So I was like, "Okay, sure."
Gets us a little bit. So I signed up. Opinions on wrestling kind of helps to keep us giving you the freshest content.
Yeah. So I signed up, and apparently there's a waiting period. So
yeah, it's like a day or something.
It got shelved, and by the time I got back to it, it'd been probably, I don't know, a good while.
Like a week or so.
So like, hey, when are you gonna post over there? I was like, I signed up. So then I finally posted. I was talking to a friend, and it got me on this roll about WWE's farm feds throughout the years, even before they were called farm feds. And so that's what the post at Cageside was about.
Yes, so it is entitled "When the Farm Feds Won't Feed WWE More," and I swear I thought there was going to be a Ryback reference in there.
that was it. That was the only Ryback reference.
Just a missed opportunity, I feel, to call out Ryback.
Well,
we did on the memorial show.
Try not to talk about Ryback too much, since I booked him to death. And one episode you should go back and check it. That would be great.
He's gonna find us and he's gonna be like, "Heard you
post shit
about me."
Yeah, he'd probably be all oh, but I'm not a Ryback hater by any chance.
I kind of was when I was watching, like when I watched Ryback.
Actually,
I was just like, he grated on me for some weird reason.
How great would it have been if Ryback had still been around as a heel for this Braun Strowman face turn?
Oh man!
And neither of them had touched each other the whole time.
Gosh.
I mean, it would have been a good feud.
Missed opportunity.
Wouldn't that have been a good feud?
It would have been great, honestly. And it would have been so satisfying to see Braun Strowman just like
destroy
rip him in half.
Yeah. Especially if they kept going like this badass Ryback, which looked like was what they were going to do in his last little run. If they kept that going, and having him strong arm guys, and then Braun just decimating him, and the promos would have been pretty good. Mm-hmm. Sadly good. Bad good.
I mean, I think as long as Braun would get to say, "I'm not finished with you yet," then I think it could be salvaged.
Although I could totally see them it'd be like a buffet eating contest or something, and Ryback's like, "Feed me more," and then Braun's like, "I'm not done with that plate yet.
I'm not finished with that yet."
So yeah. Anyway, Angie just come by, and we were going to do a review. We may still. Depends on how much time we have. We're wasting time and we're just shooting shit. But she just happened to tell me I haven't looked since I posted the Cageside Seats article, and she just said, "Hey, you got comments."
28 comments and 5 recommendations. He's a popular guy.
Not really.
I mean, more popular than me. Actually, I don't care.
That's totally not true.
That is very true, considering none of my posts get that much. It's mostly schmaltzy stuff about my family, honestly. Like, what I post is how my family has come to connect to different members of the WWE, as well as myself. So here's a couple. This is going to be his response.
I don't know.
The artist responding to a couple of comments. So, first one from JETS, just not quite yet. Whose name I've always really liked.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I really haven't. I commented on like a few things.
He commented on mine, and he commented on Willow's.
Yeah, and
the Willow blog.
Is that it? And
yeah.
I have not.
I haven't
even had much of a chance to sit down at a computer here lately. It's been kind of chaotic.
Yeah, it's been a busy time, Christmas and all.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a couple comments he's going to respond to because that's what artists do. So I think the WWE is about to drain that well dry. They've pulled in most of the big names that they can from the indie/foreign markets. Besides the Young Bucks, I can't think of anyone I could really see in the WWE.
That's it. There's a lot of names I could think of from the indies. Mike Elgin.
I mean, Big Mike is gonna probably be there eventually.
God, I mean, what a talent. I mean, it's unfortunate, like, he's short, so they wouldn't be able to sell him like they probably do. Although they sell Big E pretty good.
Yeah, well,
I think they're roughly the same height.
Big E's sort of changed from what he used to be sold as, sort of like the enforcer type when he was with when he first came up to the main roster with Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee, and is now sort of like the lovable comic badass of the New Day.
But I'm just saying, Big E's like, he's not 6 foot tall. He's like maybe 5'11". So I think Big Mike is maybe 5'10".
How tall is Michael?
5'9".
I mean, Jeff Cobb,
I know
who's
he's
his partner,
pretty
is
short.
also
Cobb is
fairly
really short too. I would also say Cobb will eventually get there. It would be huge.
I would
WWE.
love it, but
besides the Young Bucks,
he's had tryouts before, and they just
Omega
didn't really want him, apparently, from what he says in interviews. And Michael Elgin is 5'11".
Is he 5'11"? Okay, so he'd be about the same size as Big E. So that could be interesting.
Yeah.
And Cobb is shorter than him, I believe.
Yes. He is.
But
I
mean,
don't know his exact height, but I know he is.
It just depends. It just makes your big guys look bigger, especially if you say all your small guys that are like 5'10" or 6 foot. Then you can sell people like Big Cass is 7 foot tall,
because he can't teach.
Who's really only like 6'7".
Yeah. But hilariously, one of his tag team or his former tag team partner Enzo is actually fairly tall himself.
Right.
So he's
like what, 6'2"?
He's something like that, and I mean he like.
So
and especially
it's interesting.
Next to a lot of the other cruiserweights, I think how they shoot him is he's 5'11", he's 5'11", okay. But I mean he's still pretty tall for being a small guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean he looks taller because he's beside Cass, who is 7 foot tall. So I mean you can sell him as 6'2" or something. Especially when he's in there with cruiserweights who are like...
He does look taller than a lot of the cruiserweights also.
Well, that's because they're all like 5'6". 5'7". Like, I think Mysterio was 5'3".
He's barely taller than me, yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, but besides the Young Bucks, besides Omega, God, I could totally see Tama Tonga making it to the WWE one day. I would like to say Tangaroa would again become part of WWE because he was Camacho at one time.
Yep.
So, I mean, God, bringing those two in would be huge, I would think.
And if we're talking about, like,
especially bringing them to NXT. Right, I mean, women is off the square. Like, everybody that was in the Mae Young Classic, bring them in.
Yeah.
I just had this huge rant with a friend a couple days ago. Last night, actually. Shout out to John. You'll hear me mention John a lot. We talk a lot about wrestling. We may actually have him on at some point.
via call, Skype. Or like, is he gonna
do like a Skype,
show up in Hawaii?
He always talks about hopping over, but I don't know, maybe a Skype call. But yeah, we were talking about the women's division and just they could hire everybody that they had in the Mae Young Classic.
Oh, definitely. I would honestly love if Mia Yim showed up in the WWE.
Yeah.
She's very talented. She has a very different style than I think a lot of other women's wrestlers.
Super impressed with Dakota Kai.
Yeah, she has a developmental contract, I believe, with NXT. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
As Evie.
Oh, they changed her name.
I think.
I hate when they.
So that she used to be Evie and is going now by Dakota Kai. I don't recall.
Besides them, another one that I have my eye on, who apparently had a tryout, I don't know what happened, is Jacob Fatu.
Ooh.
Which is, whose kid is it? Oh, it's the Tonga Kid's kid.
Yes, that's right.
So that would be, it's the Fatus. It's the Usos' first cousin.
Yeah.
Like they're for real first cousin. Yeah, he looks pretty close to Umaga. He's pretty close in size right now. I mean, he's pretty tall. His hair's pretty much the same, I think. For a while, he had like his big afro. But I don't think he had... Well, last time I saw him, he didn't have any tattoos. Like, Umaga was covered.
Yeah.
But dude is about 270? 270 pounds. And he does a vicious handspring moonsault. Kind of like the lion saw, but it's a handspring moonsault. And then he does a moonsault off the top rope as well. And they call him the Samoan werewolf.
That is amazing.
And, I mean, he hasn't been around very long. He's young. But definitely somebody that I think WWE will pick up before too many years.
I hope so.
Because, I mean, you can't teach talent like that, really. I mean, it's some of it is you're born into it. So many in your family is into it. And he has a style of his own that's different than a lot of Samoans. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many that could come up, especially in NXT. So it's kind of strange. Like, it seems like NXT has so many people there who are just stagnant.
Yeah.
That's not.
When I think in the women's division, that's why, especially after the Mia Yim, or I keep saying the Mia Yim Classic, the Mae Young Classic. I love Mia Yim. The Mae Young Classic. They really needed to thin out a lot of their women's division, which is why the 5 of them ended up going up to the main roster, and some of them are doing better than others.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was kind of rushed, and I'm certain that part of it has to do with. They're trying to set up for the MMA 4 Horsewomen versus the NXT 4 Horsewomen. I think on this week's NXT they had a promo for Shayna Baszler.
I'd also say that they are preparing for Natalie Neidhart retiring.
They should.
And I mean, it's going to be soon. Maybe not next year, maybe not 2 years, but within 5 years she'll be retiring.
Honestly, and this is not knocking her, but I hope so. I mean, she's put in the time.
She has.
She's
still young.
Yeah, she herself also is, kind of realizes that her time is up or is getting close to,
unfortunately, unlike the men,
drying up. Yeah.
And there's not still a lot of places for the guys to go to after they leave WWE. But like Jimmy Jacobs said, WWE's not the end all place.
Yeah.
He realized it's another stop on the train.
Or at the very least, it could be another stop. And just because you're released from the WWE doesn't mean it's a death sentence for your career, like how some people take it to mean. I mean, look at people like, and I know Cody Rhodes is a sort of polarizing figure in pro wrestling, but look at people like Cody Rhodes, who, wasn't doing anything in WWE, asked for his release, got it, and then now is so much happier on the independent circuit, getting to sort of do things his own way, and sort of make his own schedule.
Well, I mean, he got out at the right time, too.
He did.
Because in some ways, because I mean, a lot would argue that because I mean he could have got out earlier, went to TNA when they were kind of hot. At least they had some more money.
He did go to GFW for a while and held the next gen title, I think.
For like a hot minute.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
like
was at Bound for Glory last year.
Like when Hogan and Flair and a lot of people were in TNA here a couple years back, maybe even prior to that, there was like a hot moment for TNA.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were kind of seen as an alternative, even though people hated on them. Right now, they're kind of like lukewarm.
They're in a less strong position.
Yeah, they're less strong, but they're in a builder position. So. But there's still ROH. There's still a couple big indies. There's still New Japan, and he left at a time when ROH and New Japan. Could he have left at a hotter moment where he could have been even a bigger name on the indies? Definitely, but it's all up to how the person plays that role.
And I think it was very fortunate for him that the stars really seemed to align. I don't know if it's based on how I didn't even mean to do that. I'm ashamed. Oh God, I hated that. I hated that so much.
Because I mean, look at Ryback. He left and he's done nothing but small indie shows.
Well, I think also it's how Ryback.
But Ryback's not going to go to ROH. He's not going to go to Impact. He's not going to. I
mean, he could go to Chikara.
He definitely could.
Honestly,
I just feel like he isn't putting himself out there.
I think
he look weaker.
Yeah, I think he's
not taking that risk.
He values his reputation in the WWE more than I think other people did. Like look at and I know I keep going back to Cody, but let's look at some other people who left the WWE and are happier. Rey Mysterio for one. Who maybe hasn't achieved the same level of mainstream success in the United States, has still done a whole lot as far as Lucha Underground, AAA, CMLL.
He went back to Mexico and I mean, quite arguably the biggest name for a Latino market. We could also look at Alberto Del Rio.
Definitely,
he got out.
There's a lot of stuff that has happened with Del Rio, but you can't deny that he's definitely been able to make a name for himself in the wrestling world outside of the WWE.
But I mean, we can go all the way back and look at guys like Christian.
Yeah.
Who, at the time, it was almost unheard of for what he was doing. For someone who had kind of gotten at the top, and...
As close to the top as he could get. I mean, he was unfortunately a lot of the time in Edge's shadow, which is an occupational hazard.
When his contract ran out and he jumped ship to TNA as Christian Cage... and won a couple world titles and really just kind of took that by storm and was the main guy over there for a couple years. And then he jumped back to WWE, got a world title, I think, just one, I believe.
Yeah.
And but still, even Randy Orton had made a comment, I think it was on the Edge and Christian show, about his feud with Christian when Orton, I think, was champion. I think Orton may have took the title from him, but
he took the title from Orton. Orton took the title from him. Okay. I think it was.
Well, Orton made a comment about how even though he was that far in his career already, working with Christian taught him stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool. Even though,
well, I think going any other place will teach you something. I mean, regardless of whether or not it's going from the WWE to TNA or TNA to PWG or
like
Lucha Underground
what's his face? Robinson in New Japan right now.
Juice, yes, who was CJ Parker in the WWE. And I mean, he left quite some time ago. He left, I think, shortly after his match against Kevin Owens at our Evolution. And I mean, he was in NXT for quite some time, and he sort of was
with New Japan, you got to kind of put your dues in, especially if you're a gaijin coming over, and there's no guarantee. Carl Anderson was over there for a number of years before he even got a win.
Definitely, Kenny Omega as well, though Kenny Omega, I think, was a little bit more fortunate because he was able to make an impression early on.
Especially
and he
in
was also
division.
and he also was very close with Kota Ibushi, and that probably honestly was able to help establish him a little bit more.
But if you look at Carl Anderson and you see the work and everything he put in there for a number of years and just being grateful and graceful in the ring, and then getting paired up with Albert, Giant Bernard.
Yeah.
And God, he just took off at that point. Just getting that little bit of rub in the tag team, and it took off huge. And I mean, if he had stayed in Japan, it's hard to say where he would be right now at this point, especially since he was the co-creator of the Bullet Club. Yeah.
And I mean,
now he's putting in time in WWE, so
it's interesting to see how these people who are huge, like main events, show-setting stars in their respective promotions elsewhere, come to the WWE and sometimes aren't treated at that same level. And I understand it's a different sort of atmosphere, different sort of format or style.
To put it back to the article, big fish, big pond.
Yeah.
And if you're a big fish in a little pond, like Jerry Lawler was for all of his career mainly, that's why he's the king of Memphis. And he stayed in that pond pretty much, but everybody went through the Memphis territory.
Yeah.
And if you're anybody who's a name in wrestling throughout the history and went to the Memphis territory, fought Jerry Lawler and had at least a minor feud with him or whatever, and the king always won.
Even today,
because it was him bookie.
Yeah.
He was, him and Jerry Jarrett, and they would bring the guys in, and people were just grateful to work with him.
Oh yeah.
Because even though he's not a technical master in the ring, Lawler knows how to tell a story.
Definitely.
And
he had a great pile driver versus pile driver match against Kevin Steen. It was amazing.
Well, I mean, just even the Andy Kaufman thing that he's most well known for.
A mainstream success, honestly.
So many matches you can really go back to find of Jerry Lawler and just his pacing and storytelling in the ring, and probably not even putting a suplex on or anything during the match. He was a brawler, but great storytelling.
And king of the pile driver.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of the point of the article, is like there's not the veteran level on the indies that there used to be in the territory days, or even back as far as just a couple decades ago. Let's do the next comment. There's a lot of comments apparently.
There are a lot.
Just pick out.
We're gonna pick.
We'll just pick out a few.
We're gonna pick a couple.
We're like 20 minutes in, so.
So let's see. In a way, the industry still works similar to how it did in the territory eras. So, as far as WWE, it's really on how they utilize the high-quality talent they sign. Many can instantly be inserted to the top, but how many are presented as a big deal? Not many. That affects the WWE, though. Indie scene is thriving, and New Japan Pro Wrestling is delivering a great deal of matches between its top stars. I would
somewhat agree with that. I mean, I don't think that everybody off the indies could just go straight to the top. I mean, like we talk about Big Mike Elgin. There's no way, you could throw him in the main event scene. I mean, it might be
you
good
could.
Match,
it just wouldn't work as well as it has with some other talents.
It's not
because it's not really quite where his talent falls.
Like, you could go from PWG to ROH and you could have the same match. But with television, it is a little bit different. And Samoa Joe talks about this, even though he was on TNA, just the production level and the different things that go into them putting on a bigger show. And I wouldn't agree all the time that WWE was on the best show for production wise. I don't want to get into the review of this past week's Raw. It was much better than last week's Raw, which I thought was just a hot mess. This week's Raw was quite a bit better.
Definitely.
So I mean, there's so much that goes on the fly. You can see sometimes where it gets chaotic, and I think that's kind of what Joe talks about. Like, you may be ready for your match, and then they tell you, okay, well, it was going to be 20 minutes, now it's going to be 10. And you're going to do this spot, and you're going to do this spot. And instead,
you have to also stay conscious, especially for television, from what angles they're shooting from. So you have to make sure, however you're placing it, is placed correctly so it doesn't So it doesn't reveal too much of what may or may not be actually getting hit.
Yeah, and I'm assuming a lot of these guys do it old style wise, where like they'll call a match in the ring, call an audible if the crowd's not into it. Like, okay, we need to do this, let's skip to this, let's do that. And you can't do that in WWE really. I mean,
they have microphones all around the ring. Also,
you can't get up there and say, okay, I'm going to hit a Spanish fly. Oh, well, I can't because that's Ali's move in 205. Or you can't hit a bro kick because that's Sheamus's move. And I mean,
there's a lot of things that people are restricted into because so many other things are claimed by other people.
Yeah,
and unless it's a storyline thing.
They don't want, if you're an undercard guy, they don't want you to be over by your moves sometimes.
Yeah,
it's like we see Joe now, but he hardly ever gets to do the Muscle Buster.
I can't remember the last time he did it. I'm not sure if it's unofficially banned.
He has done it on Raw before, but it's been a long time since I've seen it.
It's been a very long time.
So I don't know what the story is behind it. Who knows? But I mean, that's WWE. So I mean, there is that aspect where could Mike Elgin work the match his way that he's used to, or would he have to be in NXT to relearn everything? AJ even commented like he had a little bit of a filling out moment, so he said he could definitely see where it benefits guys to go to NXT for a year. So I mean, there is that. So.
And that's coming from someone who has extensive work on television, both in TNA, Impact, and New Japan, for the times they do actually televise their matches, which they do a decent amount. They record a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it's sobering to see the fact that it's still something that even people who are at the top of their game elsewhere are so cognizant of, and acknowledge the fact that the style is very different in the WWE, so there is an adjustment.
I do wish WWE did do more of an indie style. Not saying necessarily like just a spot fest, although they do that sometimes. But
Finisher Palooza.
Yeah. But, you know, it is what it is, their style and what they like and what they don't want people to do. And it's not the smartest thing all the time, but I think it does prevent being able just to pull anybody up off the indies and just throw them into the main event. Unlike when we had WCW, they could do that when they bring in like Benoit, Jericho, you know, Big Show. They pulled those guys over, and they were kind of used to that style already because so many people were back and forth in the business.
Definitely. Good answer. All right, we're going to do maybe one or two of these, one or two more of these.
Sure.
So let's see. Actually, I like this comment a lot because it kind of ties into what you were talking about before. So I was thinking similar when I saw old TNA episodes. If you think about Wrong Killings, Monty Brown, or recently Styles and Joe, they seemed big deals at the signing on as they were put over by old WCW guys. This is talking more about Impact once again. Now those guys and the old WWE guys have gone, and so did the stars they pushed. It's not possible for one of them to be on par. No one believes someone like Chris Adonis could go back and be a main eventer or invader. He would spend years in development before even having a name change. It's a shame, as it means it means it's Vince or no one. Even folks like Christian can't take that route anymore of climbing the ladder and returning back as far higher than when we left.
And who was the commenter?
That is Mercs 2.
Definitely Mercs 2. Yeah, Adonis especially. I mean, when he first showed up, Chris Masters, the masterpiece, and he was ripped. I think he's like 6'4", and probably the only other guy on the roster that was bigger than him was John Cena. And so, I mean, his whole gimmick, the master lock, nobody be able to break the full Nelson. At his size now, for him to show up in WWE, it would just be a joke. You know, there's no way he could be look, it's Chris Masters. I mean, maybe they would do it, but I cannot see them doing the full Nelson. Gimmick would not work.
Not like how it was
wouldn't
before.
Work now at all. Especially with all the guys that are there. I'm trying to think who else. The only guy that I could possibly see just walking back into the company would be Brodus Clay. because he's humongous.
It's true.
And I don't know. I mean, he was down in NXT for quite a while in FCW. So
yeah, and then he went up to the main roster and then went away.
And then went away, and they just totally misused him.
And his partner, and his partner ended up Matt Bloom. Ended up doing most of the training, being the head trainer for NXT, along with Sarah Del Rey, as the head women's trainer.
Of course, Bernard had all those years in Japan.
Yeah.
Where for a moment, I thought he was going to get the strap.
Really?
Yeah. Because he had a good singles run there for a while. And it was like, oh, they're gonna restrap him, and then he started tagging again, and that's when he had all the big runs with Carl.
Very, very interesting that he's been able to
had
go
a great
through
career.
so many. Well, also go through so many different names and styles and gimmicks. Really is a testament to his talent and the ability to make it work.
WWE's biggest mistake was bringing him in as Lord Tensei. If they just brought him back as A-Train or even as Bernard. I think they could have gotten way more mileage out of him. But the market for bringing in someone who is not the ethnicity that they're going to portray is over.
Yeah, I mean,
Yokozuna was Samoan. Muhammad Hassan was Italian. It's just that time frame is kind of done.
There are a couple of Russian wrestlers that actually were Italian, I think.
God, what was the big one's name? The one that did the sickle. Can't think of it at the moment. Nikita Koloff. He was from Chicago, I think.
Yes. But he
and then Smash was also a Russian.
It. I mean, he like
Demolition
learned
Smash.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the other thing with him is that he
all you
learned Russian and stuff, honestly, which I thought was kind of cool.
For, out of your beginning, you could go 2 years without saying anything and just sell it. That's what managers are for.
I was going to say, that's why you have managers.
I miss managers. But I would just like to touch R-Truth. Back when TNA first started,
R-Truth is currently out on Industry Injury.
Oh, is he? Oh, yes. That's a shame. He's like 50, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he's up there.
Still got a great scissors kick.
Yeah.
Also.
He was talking about like his kids are, I guess, like in middle school or high school, and like their friends are like just in awe that, hey, it's, oh my God, your dad's R-Truth. And his kids are just like, he's not John Cena. Which is it's funny.
Oh God. This makes me sad for R-Truth.
Right.
Even though I'm sure he's not sad about it.
But God, like, for someone like him to be treated just as comedy, I mean, he can do it, and he has gotten a long career out of it.
Yeah, and he's definitely okay with it.
He's okay with it because he knows he's making bank, and he's willing to do whatever they want. And at the end of the day, is what's better, He's going to retire with a fat wallet.
Yeah.
And he may not be making John Cena money, but who else is making John Cena money? Nobody. So props to Truth for having a long career like that.
Definitely. And I mean, other people that you see in the WWE who similarly are treated like jokes currently. I mean, Kurt Hawkins and Tyler Breeze, two people that come to mind that have both gone on record saying that, and Tyler Breeze actually gave a really good defense of his position in SmackDown Live. Someone going, oh, it's garbage. They don't treat you like they should. You should be main eventing every week. And he goes, well, then if I'm main eventing every week, where does that leave places for AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura and all this other talent that really also deserves the same amount of respect and attention? He's like, I'm grateful for having Fashion Files every week, which is a segment that entertains people and is a lot of fun to do. So I thought that was incredible. I thought that was fantastic.
Tyler Breeze, as long as he stays in this tag team, I think he's pretty.
He'll be okay. He'll be more or less set.
Yeah, I just got to take this text real quick. But yeah, Truth is. He's great on the mic, and his TNA run, I would suggest anyone to look back on the old weekly pay-per-views, and this is where he got his Truth nickname. He would cut some great promos about the truth, and he would tell you the truth.
And also just really, really genuinely...
It was entertaining.
Entertaining.
And then...
and, like, willing to be seen as a joke for the purpose of entertainment. Like, willing to go along with the joke. Which I respect a whole lot.
And I mean, God, Jarrett owes a lot to Truth, because to start out the world title scene...
Jarrett owes a lot to a lot of people, though, to be fair.
Well, yeah. Apparently so does Dixie Carter. Oh.
Oof, that's financial, though.
Yeah. But, yeah. So there's that. So definitely... I forgot who it was.
Mercs 2.
Mercs 2. So let's do one more.
All right, this is the last one, because I feel like this you would appreciate this.
Okay.
For me, a really old guy, a big issue isn't enough guys coming in. It's that guys aren't leaving for somewhere else once they get stale. So in the days where a guy could do 3 or 4 years in WWF, then head to Crockett, WCW for 3 or 4 years, then head back to WWF, fresh again, and repeat. WWE currently has the most talented roster I've seen in the 40 years, I've been watching pro wrestling, yet it still drags because it's the same matches week after week. Rollins and Ambrose versus Cesaro and Sheamus is as high a quality a matchup as you can get regardless of the mix. Mm-hmm. Yet in the last 3 months, we've seen it every iteration of this mix a dozen times, and even great work becomes dull to viewers.
And then they expect you to watch the pay-per-view for them.
A good thing in the 70s through 90s was that once someone got tired or oversaturated in one place, they could go somewhere else and reinvent themselves with new matchups and new surroundings. That just doesn't exist anymore, and that does hurt their ability to present fresh matchups and storylines. We have seen everyone versus everyone a zillion times already.
Yeah.
Very good point. Definitely is... I agree with the Rollins and Ambrose versus Cesaro and Sheamus.
Who was that?
That is Who Me.
Shout out to who, me?
Shout out to you.
I have that problem as well. It's like WWE has got a string a hold on the market, on the American market.
Oh gosh.
And places like TNA, they come in and they can't really get a foot up. I mean,
they had to move to Canada, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, I would rather them move up to Canada and still be putting on the product than to fold completely.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've switched hands a lot. They switched networks even more.
Hopefully this time it sticks.
I mean, props to Jarrett for starting the promotion up and putting all that effort into it, and really shopping it around and trying. I mean, Jeff Jarrett isn't the biggest brains. I mean, I'm not saying he's stupid, but someone made a comment like he's operating it like a carnival instead of advancing the way wrestling should be advancing. So, I mean, let's just look at it like this. Mason Ryan, who used to be with WWE.
Oh, yeah.
Who looked like he had a big future, and I don't know really what happened there. But once he left, the people at WWE still keep people on file and contact and everything. And Circus du Soleil called them and said, hey, we need somebody. Because the talent pool is, a lot the same. So they gave a couple people a call, and, Mason Ryan went and talked to him, and they hired him. And I think he's under contract with them until the end of this year. But,
which is awesome.
I mean, he's like this big muscle-bound archer in their shows. And, I mean, he wears all this face paint and everything. And
so people can be cool. Like, hey, that's Mason Ryan. Like, maybe they do, though.
I don't know. But, I mean, if you really think about it, like, he could totally come back into wrestling. But WWE has this vast marketing aspect to it. That, like, Circus du Soleil, yeah, you could call it a circus show, but it is so far advanced than that. It's theater, it's art, it's so many different things.
Music.
Yeah, and I mean...
It's a very immersive
That's
experience.
what WWE is trying to do. That's why their production level is so different, and that's why when there is that learning portion, like Samoa Joe and AJ Styles talk about, where you couldn't just throw somebody in from the indies. And that's because it's television.
Yeah.
Instead of just airing a circus show. And Jarrett still puts on regular circus shows. I wish ROH could find a format to really get a good TV deal. Their TV deals never seem to really take off.
Which is really unfortunate because there's so much really good talent.
It is.
in Ring of Honor.
Super unfortunate. And, I mean, even like we talk about, like, God, we wish just our local wrestling could get a good local TV deal. But it's also the way the TV stations are rigged up now that it's more of a national level than a local programs. So you almost have to go like public television. And how many people are going to watch public television for wrestling? I would too, but
like
I mean...
2 people.
Yeah, so... Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
So, thanks everybody for commenting.
Yeah.
I will try to hop on there maybe tomorrow.
Sometime.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Maybe this Friday. I don't know. I'll try to hop on there and reply to everyone. And yeah, shout out to everybody that commented. And maybe I'll do another one here soon.
Fingers crossed. I told all of you that he was the better writer, so...
I need to write one in Inside Pulse soon, too. I haven't done that in a while, either. So. And I also need to write some for my blog. So
there's so much.
There's so much. Yeah. I also got to reply to these text messages.
He's a popular guy. Anyway, that's our episode of Midcard Mama.